All right, currently I'm drawing from center to center. If you don't want it to do that, hopefully some of you know how to get the distance to this point here. This is a right triangle where you figure out the x component and y component. I'll leave it to you if you know how to do that. Another thing you could do is just draw in a filled circle over the top of the line. So draw in all your edges first and then draw filled circles after that. Either way. I also need to draw a label. So the label is going to be much the same as this drawstring for the node. It's going to be a little bit trickier in that I need to figure out the halfway point of the line, but otherwise it should be relatively straightforward. So the string I'm going to draw is that label again. Okay, so how do I figure out the halfway point? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the difference between the two values, so the difference between the two expositions. Here, let me illustrate this. A, B. So what I need to do is, the halfway point is basically the left circle, whatever that is, plus half of the distance between these two. So I need to figure out which one of these two is the minimum, subtract the difference between the two, and divide that by 2. And that'll be the x position. And it's similar for the y, where whatever the top one is, I take that y position, the difference between these two, and then halfway between those. Easy. Nothing but math. First, let's see. Let's actually grab those values just to make it easier. fx for first x is edgelist.get a dot get first dot get x. So first x, first y, second x, second x, sy, second y. And by the way, this is why mathematicians use symbols for all their stuff to represent tons of things, because it makes the equation look smaller. All right, the smaller of the two, math.min of fx sx plus the difference between the two, so the absolute value of sx minus fx divided by 2. Order of operations dictates that this should happen first, then the plus, but I always like to parenthesize everything anyway, just in case. Math.abs. There we go. So that should be the x position, and basically it's the same thing with the y's. Y, 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 y. There's your C. All right, so highlighting. What's the deal with that? What I'd like to do is make it so that circles know if they need to be highlighted, which basically means draw yourself in the default color. So in my node list, what I'm going to do is basically say if the current circle is highlighted, which is going to end up being a Boolean field. So g node list, there we go, dot get a get highlighted, which is going to be a Boolean I'm going to put in a second. I'm going to change the color. I don't know, red. Otherwise, set it to black. Color, the what now? Yes, yes, AWT. So get highlighted is going to be a node. It's going to be a Boolean. And by default, it'll be false, which technically it is now, but I'll just be explicit about it. False, there we go. Needs getters and setters. Public Boolean get highlighted. Turn highlighted. Public void set highlighted. Boolean highlight. Boy, I'm having trouble typing today. There we go. This dot that equals. Notice that we have to explicitly say this to refer to the highlighted thing that's within the node itself. This one here, if we don't say anything, is the default value. If we want to explicitly talk about the one that is the node's highlighted value, you have to say this dot. Otherwise, it's the parameter there that it's referring to. Okay, so that does the getting and drawing stuff. One thing we should probably do is, just in case the most recent thing was highlighted, we should probably set the color to black before we draw all the edges in. And then finally, when we actually click on things and highlight, where we just put a comment in before, let's set highlighted to true, and then first dot set highlighted to false. Sure, VB. Notice now that it's been highlighted, so I know that I'm in that state. And when I click, it dehighlights and draws the edge between them. The other thing I realize I should probably do is if I click on the edge button, I probably want to dehighlight everything. Just in case that I had already clicked on something, if I click on edge again, what I'd like to do is actually dehighlight everything. So I'm actually going to do, why don't I put it in panel. Stop highlighting. To which it's like, a what now? By the way, we can create a method in there by doing that nice little thing there. And what I'm going to do here is basically go through my for loop through my nodes. So go through my node list and just say g node list dot get a dot set highlighted to false. So it'll just dehighlight everything, just in case. Edge. Click there, hit edge again. Oh, and repaint. That would be useful. Stop highlighting. Did I spell it wrong? No, it's not. That's what I thought. Okay, so apparently saving fixes that. Besides this, we also need to repaint. A, B, hit edge again. Okay. Beautiful.